Yeah, news and stuff.
Are you a musician too? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Foxy Jeff is my stage name. My name is Jeff Fox. Get Foxy is the project.
Is the band or the?
Yeah.
It's his everything.
I'm a
It's
soloist right now, but I do have a band, but we're still practicing together.
It's just sort of like your brand.
Have you heard of Dakota Cree at all? The band Dakota Cree?
I think so. Are they not from Chico, or are they?
They're Chico State people.
Mm-hmm.
They play at the market and stuff like that.
Jeff's also heavily involved with KCSC.
Oh
yeah,
we'll talk about that a little bit. That was totally shaped my life.
Wearing the shirt right now.
Yeah, I was actually.
That's the reason Nirvana played in Chico.
Programming director last semester, but it's moved on to arts editor at Orion, so I'm doing a little bit of both now.
Multimedia.
Now I'm just a lowly production
My nose hair
crew on KCC.
That shit all comes through now. It's crazy.
Well, this thing will push out because it's wide angle. You're pretty far away. I can see Julian right there with
frame
it.
a little bit.
Nice.
And you can push up. I mean, you're not gonna scare me if you get too.
Yeah, because look at it. Even that close is like ideal.
Cool.
We might do half the questions this way, and then he and I switch spots, so we just get different angle for the other half. So let's
get like random pictures of me just like cut in between.
Let's just start, because we brought up Chico State. Let's just start with, I mean, in a lot of people's mind, and what I'm saying is going to be edited out. We're just going to go.
I get it. So I'll make sure to complete a statement from the beginning.
Yeah. So let's start with what you do now, but then also kind of your roots at Chico State. And the audio engineering program and things of that nature, and as just kind of a baseline here.
Okay. My name's Dale Price, and I own Pro Sound Audio Services. It's a sound company, and also Electric Canyon Recording, and we're located up in Butte Creek Canyon. I've been up there about 11 years, and before that I used to record in town. I've recorded mobile for years, about 25 years, and I've been doing live sound since 1988 as a business. And before that, since I got to Chico in 1984 to go to Chico State, I got a degree from the school, Chico State, in music with the option in recording arts in 1989. So first graduate from the program at Chico State. That wasn't a custom designed major. Somebody actually has it written on the diploma, which nobody's ever seen, except me.
Okay, so in the time you've been in Chico, how have you, what's the scope of the music scene? What has happened since the late 80s to now?
When I got here, the music scene was pretty strong, and I'd have to say, without a doubt, it's still very strong. The nature of the business has changed a little bit, and we all have to kind of flex with that. One of the things I did to stay in Chico and be involved in music was to get into production, which I really love. But I've been in many bands. During college, I was in usually 4 bands at a time. I still can't believe I juggled that in school. There was more live music happening in the 80s, more bands playing out on any given night. About 10 bars, 10 to 15 bars had live music, not just like the has-beens style small venue, but actually places that had full-on bands playing with PAs there, or bands bringing in big PAs, 4 or 5 10-piece bands rocking out. And you would go from place to place. Generally the deal back then was you didn't stick around at one club all night because most covers were $2 or $3. So you'd go see your friends play maybe at the Red and Grey pub, which was an Irish pub down on the railroad tracks where the fitness center is now. And then maybe you'd head down to LaSalle to see a band for a little bit, or you'd go to the Top Flight Ballroom, which is a disco top 40 bar that ran circuit bands like Steel Breeze. They were in business for many years. That's now where the Crazy Horse is. And in fact, the layout of the place is the same. It's just the music has changed effectively. It was the meat market back then too. Yeah, it was fun to go there and check out the big-haired chicks and all the craziness there that was going on. And then You might run over to Canal Street Pizza, which is where the bookstore is. They would have music quite a bit. There was a lot of little clubs that came and went, and many that lasted for a long period of time. And almost always for me, the night started or ended at Hey Juan's, which became Juanita's, because it was the cheapest beers, $1.75 pitchers, $1.75 jumbo burritos. So we spent a lot of time there on the plywood tables at the end of the night. And they had music, sometimes they didn't, and then as they evolved into Juanita's, they had more music consistently when Sib owned it. For a while they had a adjacent room called the Burrow Room, and they had a lot of alternative bands there. KCSC brought a lot of music through there. I know now KCSC is not technically supposed to be promoting shows where drinking is going on, but there was a lot of unofficial shows that were done. You know, Mudhoney was one of the greatest, just recollecting with the KCSC alumni last year. And then of course there was the Tad and Nirvana show, which is kind of legendary, but there was many more. And yeah, just good times back then. Amazing little bands that would come through, and in our own little scene, and people promoting the scene. And I think it started to slow down when DUIs got to be real serious. I mean, for a long time there was a slap on the wrist, you know, a drive home, a few $100, and the mindset of what to do for fun was different. You just pile in the car and go from venue to venue. And pedicab started in '85, and in fact I was one of the first pedicab drivers, along with Dan Goodson was in that crew. That's how I met him many years ago, and we would pedicab around and give people rides. But as the DUI thing started, certain bars that were more on the fray became either destination bars for particular neighborhoods, or started to go by the wayside because they were too far out of the loop, the downtown loop. And so what you saw is the core sort of strengthen as far as the bars and where it was acceptable to have bars. The downtown owners, there was not very many of them back then. I think to this day there's still not that many people that own most of the property downtown, and they would try to keep certain areas through peer pressure free of bars. And so now what you've seen is that collection of bars down there where the Crazy Horse is, Town Lounge, Duffy's has been there now 25 years. So that little strip has sort of become the bar area, but it's sort of like 6th Street in Austin, except it's only half a block long. So I think it changed because of the DUIs. And then I think the biggest change is a blessing and as much as a detriment, and that's the fact that everyone can universally share their stuff through the internet and become a star on Facebook, YouTube, pick your social network of choice, and become really big. But people are consuming more music at home and not actually going out and having a collective social experience. And I have some footage that my buddy Alan shot, and maybe I could even show you a couple pieces. It's just mind-blowing. We're just hanging out. You know, he would rent a big VCR and bring it around to our huge parties. And people just, you had to go out to have social interaction. There was no, if you sat at home on Friday night or Saturday night, you felt like a chump, man. It's like, I got to get out and do something. Sometimes I just ride my bike downtown, not even go into the bars. But you had to, how else are you going to have contact with people? Call them on the phone? Well, I can do that anytime. So you would go down and have that connection. And so that's been lost through the fact that we have these Jetson phones now, and we can actually talk to people face to face. Yet there's a little more disconnect there. Although I might be having 3 conversations right now, texting. So there's more connection, but it's not a physical connect. It's more of a disconnect. There's people consuming music, but maybe they're only listening to a few things and liking it instead of like going to see their friend's band. We had to entertain ourselves. And if I wasn't playing, I was being entertained by one of my buddies. And then maybe we'd form a band and we'd entertain other people. And we had to go out and do that. And, you know, but alcohol was pretty cheap too. You know, you could go out for $5 $10. And if your buddies bought you a couple drinks, you went in on pictures. It wasn't like you could do that 3-4 nights a week, pay for covers, and still have your little, make your little Chico rent.
Do you think that is kind of a cultural shift that has affected maybe every local music scene?
Yeah.
In the country?
Oh yeah, for sure.
The DUI costs going up nationwide. The like you said, the connecting and people hanging out in person happens less and less.
I think that younger people didn't grow up on music as much, so they're not as into it. Like we took our kids to see Roger Waters' The Wall. They'd never been to an arena concert. By the time I was their age, Isaac was a senior or a junior at that point. I'd probably been to like 20 rock shows, and it cost $15, $17 a ticket to go see The Who. Living in the Bay Area, of course, there was more access to that. But even so, when I moved to Chico, I'd still drive down to the Cow Palace to see Deep Purple and be back for my 8 o'clock class the next day. Because gas was cheap, just getting around was cheap, tickets were cheap, until Bill Graham died and Clear Channel bought it. Bill Graham Presents, tickets were still affordable. It's just like baseball now. My buddies say, oh yeah, if I take the wife and kids to the baseball game, I'm spending $450. It used to be like, well, if you want a bleacher seat at the A's, you're going to spend about $15. So that cost of it, and they justify that through making a bigger spectacle, is taking more of the cost away. So we're just consuming we're consuming media so different now. It's fascinating.
Has the talent in the time you've been in Chico fluctuated, broadened? Are there times you can look at and go, wow, regardless of venues or maybe who's going out to what shows, you're in a position and have been for a long time to get a good kind of cross section of what's happening talent-wise?
Oh, there's always been people that are really good, that are exceptional players. There's been world-class players that have come through town or been grown their career and then taken